Hey guys, this is your host Thomas Tyree here from On the Hop Podcast. Today, I have some bonus content for you guys. The bonus content will be coming today will be in the sport of football inside the NFL world. In today's bonus segment, I'll be sharing my own personal list of the best 5 teams in NFL history to never win a Super Bowl. So team number 1 on the list would have to be the 2007 New England Patriots. I do believe the 2007 New England Patriots are the best team in NFL history to never win an NFL title. Now, they were this close of making their own history, tying the 1972 Dolphins as the only team in league's history to go 19-0 in an NFL season. That means you have to go 16-0 in the regular season, go undefeated in the postseason to win a Lombardi trophy. The only team to ever do it was the 72 Dolphins, but I still think the 2007 New England Patriots team was one of the greatest teams of all time because you had Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time at the quarterback position. You had Bill Belichick, one of the greatest head coaches of all time. You had Randy Moss, one of the best wide receivers of all time. You had Wes Walker as well at the wide receiver position. Then you look at the defensive side of the ball. They had Vince Wilfork as their defensive tackle. They had Mike Vrabel on the defensive side of the ball. And they had Rodney Harrison as an outstanding safety as well. So this team was loaded on both ends of the ball. But the offense, they were just setting records and bullying teams on a weekly basis. The offense averaged 36 points per game. Tom Brady had one of the best years of his NFL Hall of Fame career. 50 passing touchdowns, and Randy Moss scored 23 total touchdowns this NFL season. And the defense was really good, too. They had a top 5 defense. And you look at their track record of what it did in the postseason that year. They cruised past the Jacksonville Jaguars in the divisional round. They defeated the San Diego Chargers in the AFC Championship. Then they just ran into the ultimate roadblock. They ran into the New York Giants, the 10-6 New York Giants that were the 5th seeded team in the NFC that year, and ended up being one of the biggest upsets in Super Bowl history, with the New York Giants upsetting the undefeated New England Patriots. I mean, Eli Manning at the quarterback position outplayed Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, and then had a game-winning drive, heaving it up to David Tyree to have that significant helmet catch to help the New York Giants get past the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. But you still got to be proud if you're a New England Patriots fan, because that year you went 18-1, and still the 1972 Dolphins are still the only team in NFL history to go undefeated and win a Super Bowl all in one NFL season. And I think with the NFL season being even longer nowadays, I think that record's going to stand the test of time for eternity. So if you're the Miami Dolphins, you have nothing to worry about with that record staying intact. But man, that I just can't believe that the New England Patriots nearly 20 years ago with that team did not go undefeated and win it all. Best team ever not to do it. Team number 2 on my list, I'll go with the 1990 Buffalo Bills. Now, I think the 1990 Buffalo Bills team had one of the best offenses in NFL history. They had Jim Kelly at the quarterback position. You had Thurman Thomas and Andre Reed. And that year, the Buffalo Bills finished 13-3. They dominated the Raiders in the AFC Championship, pummeling them, winning that game by a score of 51-3. So they had full momentum heading into the Super Bowl to play the New York Giants that year. But in the Super Bowl against the New York Giants, they honestly had them on the ropes. They were just one execution away from winning their first Super Bowl in franchise history. And they brought out their kicker, Scott Norwood. The Buffalo Bills brought out their kicker, Scott Norwood, to kick a 47-yard field goal for the win. And the field goal went wide right, and the New York Giants escaped the Super Bowl that year, defeating the Buffalo Bills by a score of 20-19. So imagine you're one of the greatest AFC teams of all time, and you just fall short of winning your first title in franchise history. And it gets worse if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, especially in the 90s, because they went on to win 4 straight AFC titles, but then lost 4 straight Super Bowls from 1990 to 1994. That is so heartbreaking, and the Buffalo Bills have not been back to the Super Bowl since. Still looking for their first Super Bowl in franchise history. So if you're a Buffalo Bills fan out there, hang in there. Your day will come. That just sucks that they never won it all. Going in 4 straight Super Bowls. But I think that 90 team is one of the best teams of all time to never win it all. Third best team on my list would be the 1998 Minnesota Vikings. Now, I think this Minnesota Vikings team was honestly really good, and this was the best team that the Minnesota Vikings had in franchise history, where the 1998 Vikings went 15-1 that year, and their offense was so damn dominant. They scored 556 total points that year. They averaged 34 points per game, and business was booming in Minnesota. You had Randall Cunningham at the quarterback position. You had Randy Moss as a rookie at the wide receiver position. You also had Chris Carter at the wide receiver position. So you had two top 10 wide receivers of all time playing with each other in Minnesota that year, with Randall Cunningham, a great dual threat quarterback, playing. Man, the only flaw with this 15-1 team was the defense was just average. They were like a middle of the pack defense, just staying afloat to help them win ball games. But the Vikings in the NFC Championship against the Atlanta Falcons, they gave up a 20-7 lead. And Gary Anderson, their kicker, this is crazy. Their kicker was 35 for 35 for field goals all year long. And they were up by 10 late in the fourth quarter against the Atlanta Falcons. All they needed Gary Anderson to do was make a 38-yard field goal to go up by 10 with under 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. He missed his first kick of the year, and the Atlanta Falcons got the ball back. They tie the game up, and the game goes into overtime. But then late in the game, you also have to point the finger here at Dennis Green, their head coach. With this offense, you got a chance to put up points at any time. And with 30 seconds to go, Dennis Green told Randall Cunningham to go out there and take a knee. We'll go to win the game in overtime rather than regulation. Why? 30 seconds, I'm going to play for the win with this high-powered offense. I thought that was a mistake. And the game gets into overtime. The Atlanta Falcons defeat the Minnesota Vikings by a score of 30-27. I think with all that talent there, this was the best chance for the Minnesota Vikings to ever win a Super Bowl. And they most likely would have won their first Super Bowl in franchise history. But the Vikings are still a team that's chasing their first Super Bowl, like the Bills that I just mentioned. So I think 98 was the best chance for the Vikings to win it all. But I think this 98 team is definitely one of the best teams to never win it all. Next team, number 4 on my list. We'll go to recent times here. I'm going to go with the 2015 Carolina Panthers team. Now, I think the 2015 Carolina Panthers team, realistically, is one of the best teams in NFL history to never win a Super Bowl. Because this year, in the year 2015, you had Cam Newton, who was a great, phenomenal dual-threat quarterback, won an MVP. This year, you had Cam Newton at the quarterback position. You had Jonathan Stewart at the running back position. You had Greg Olsen at the tight end position. You had one of the best linebackers of all time, Luke Kuechly, at the middle linebacker position. You had Thomas Davis playing as an outside linebacker. You had Jared Allen as a edge rusher. And then you had Josh Norman, an all-pro, was locking down wide receivers on a daily basis. I think this team overachieved. And underachieved, I should say. But, yeah, looking at this team, again, with all the talent I just said, Cam Newton, 2015 MVP, Jonathan Stewart at the running back position, Greg Olsen at the tight end position, Luke Kuechly as one of the greatest linebackers of all time at the middle linebacker position, Thomas Davis as an outside linebacker, Jared Allen as an edge rusher, and all-pro Josh Norman played his best year of his NFL career as a lockdown corner. Like, they had a total of 8 all-pros this NFL season. That's why I believe the 2015 Panthers are one of the best teams in league history to never win it all. And Cam Newton's MVP year, he was unreal as a dual-threat quarterback. Over 4,000 total yards passing and rushing this year. And he had 35 passing touchdowns, 10 rushing touchdowns. Superman Cam was in full effect in Carolina that year. And thanks to the help of Luke Kuechly and Josh Norman, their play on the defensive end, they were a top 5 team on offense and defense. They were elite on both sides of the ball. And you look at their track record in the playoffs, they defeated the Seattle Seahawks in the divisional round. Then in the NFC Championship, they pummeled and destroyed Carson Palmer, Larry Fitzgerald, and the Arizona Cardinals, winning that game 49-15 in the NFC Championship. And then you just ran into the best defense in the league that year, the Denver Broncos, led by 2 ferocious pass rushers, and Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware. There was nothing Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers offensive line could do, especially in Super Bowl 50, because Cam Newton got humbled. He got sacked 7 times, There were 4 crucial turnovers in that game. They couldn't really generate anything offensively, and they only scored 10 total points. And you look at the Denver Broncos situation, yeah, they had one hell of a defense, but they played a broken down and worn down Peyton Manning in the last twilight days of his career, and they lost that game. I think as good as the Panthers were that year, you got to realistically say they were one of the best teams in NFL history to never win it all. Damn. And that's a team that's still chasing their first championship in franchise history. That year was the year to do it, to win your first title and bring it home to Carolina if you're a Carolina Panthers fan out there. Man, crazy. Team number 5, last team on the list, would have to be the 2019 Baltimore Ravens. Now, I think the 2019 Baltimore Ravens is also in this conversation to be one of the greatest teams in NFL history to never win it all. Now, you look at what happened in 2019 for the Baltimore Ravens. They went 14-2 that year, and this was the first year Lamar Jackson was officially the starter for Baltimore. Joe Flacco left the franchise. It was all Lamar. And he had an opening statement in his first year as an official starter playing against the Miami Dolphins. Had 5 total touchdowns. Who can ever forget that game on the road against the Cincinnati Bengals? When he had a perfect passer rating. And he had a 5 total touchdown game against the Los Angeles Rams on that Monday Night Football game as well. And Greg Roman was honestly cooking grease with this offense. Like, Greg Roman's offensive philosophy is obviously being a run-first team, but they were averaging 200 yards per game and 200 rushing yards per game. So this team was definitely elite on the offensive side of the ball. But then the problem that the Ravens had, they were 14-2 with the number 1 seed in the AFC. That bye week killed them. They had no momentum, and they got outplayed by the Tennessee Titans at the divisional round, losing that game by a score of 17-10. And Lamar couldn't get going offensively, and they ran into a Derrick Henry problem. Derrick Henry ran roughhouse all over the Baltimore Ravens at M&T Bank Stadium. And now you look, fast forward, Lamar and Derrick Henry are teammates in Baltimore. But I still think that Ravens team is one of the best teams in NFL history to never win it all. But that's my list of the best NFL teams to never win an NFL Super Bowl. That is all the time I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. This is your host, Thomas Tyree, signing off. And I'll see you guys on next week's episode.